Hi there, it's Roy from Sulphur City Sabers. This is an instructional video for our 2-button RGB Baselit soundboard. So the 2-button RGB Baselit soundboard differs from our single button model in that it has an extra switch in order to access and configure your Saber. Your Saber will have a power switch and it will have an auxiliary switch, often referred to just as an aux switch. So let's look at how to activate and deactivate your Saber. Now first off, the 2-button board does not come with a standby mode, or not one that you have to wake the Saber from anyway. So your Saber is live and ready to go. To activate your Saber, you simply dab your power button and your Saber will ignite. To deactivate your Saber, just simply dab the button a second time. The 2-button RGB Baselit board also has a lot of enhanced gesture control over and above our single switch board. For example, you can also ignite your Saber by twisting, twist on and twist off, and that's something that you tend to see in the higher end boards. Our single switch board does have swing on functionality, but there is no twist off. So on this 2-button board you have twist on and twist off. So that's how to activate and deactivate your Saber. Next up, we'll look at some of the features of your Saber. Welcome back. Now let's look at some of the features of your 2-button RGB Baselit Saber. If you remember from the first part of the video, we have 2 switches on this model, power and an auxiliary button. And we're going to be using that auxiliary button to activate a few features. But before we do that, let's look at the automatic features that automatically fire when using your Saber. So I want to use the power button to turn the Saber on, and of course the thing you immediately see is the blade illumination and the background hum. Start moving your Saber. You of course start hearing the motion activated swing sounds. If you're swinging your Saber around and using your RGB Baselit model, particularly for dueling, you may clash your blade against an opponent's blade. Now the accelerometer on the board will automatically, I don't want to do this too hard, pick up that clash as a clash activation, play a blade effect and play the clash sound. So those are kind of the automatic features that are present on the Saber, the background hum and the motion activation. There are a couple of additional features that you can activate on your Saber once you're using it, that is blaster blocks and lockup. First we'll look at blaster blocks. Now if you cast your mind back to the movies, when our heroes are running from a group of stormtroopers, our Jedi hero will use his lightsaber to deflect incoming blaster shots, and you kind of get that blaster block deflection and the choo choo sound. That's something that's built into your Saber and is activated by pressing the auxiliary switch. So if you press your switch, you activate a blaster block effect. So that's quite good for choreography. Also good for choreography is the lockup effect. Again, cast your mind back to the movies, hero goes against villain. Inevitably at some point during a lightsaber duel, the blades will cross and in Saber lore, lightsaber blades are sticky, so you kind of get that lock up and sticky psh kind of effect. That's referred to as a lock up. That is an effect that you can replicate using your 2-button RGB Baselit Saber. Simply during your choreography, as you're going in for a lock up effect, you intend to go blade against blade. Just use that same aux button, but hold it for about a second and then release it. And your blade will automatically go into lock up mode. When you pull your saber away, just dab that button again, and that will deactivate back to normal. So there we saw the inherent automatic features of your saber and a couple of manually activated features as well. In the next section, I will have a look at how to configure your saber. Welcome back. Now it's time to look at some of the configuration options on this 2-button RGB Baselit board. First off, let's have a look at some of the settings that you can change whilst your saber is in standby mode. First one setting you can change is the volume setting. So whilst your saber is in standby, remember this is the power button, or this is the auxiliary button, we're going to hold our power button for about 1 second and then release it.
High volume.
So we can cycle through high volume, mute,
Low volume.
and low volume.
High volume.
Let's go back to high. Also, whilst your saber's in standby mode, you can cycle through the 16 sound fonts that are loaded on this 2-button RGB Baselit board. You simply do that by dabbing your auxiliary switch.
Air. Prepare boarding. Anakin, Nobi.
And you can cycle through all 16 of those sound fonts. If that's not fast enough for you, you can use the gesture control and orientation detection that's built into the soundboard. So if you point your saber upwards and twist, you'll progress to the next sound font. Why is this any better than just dabbing the button? Well, there's no real reason, to be honest. It's just another way of being able to flick through your sound fonts. You can either dab the auxiliary button or point your saber upwards, hold your auxiliary button and twist. I'd probably prefer the former. Okay, your saber also has the ability to play some background music whilst it's in use. There are 3 backing tracks plus the ability to turn backing music off. The way you activate or deactivate background music is by pointing your saber downwards. You hold your auxiliary button and you give your saber a twist. You can hear it starts playing background track. There's the third, or it's off. So there you can see just a few of the initial settings that you can tweak. Volume control, cycling through the 16 sound fonts, 2 methods for that, and then the ability to turn your background music on and off. Next, let's look at some of the configuration settings that you can set whilst your saber is running. So let's fire it up. Actually, while we're doing that, I'm going to put it into low volume. There we go. So there we go. With our running saber, you have the ability to turn your clash effect on and off on your saber. You do this with the saber running. You hold your power button for about a second and release. And flash on clash is now turned off. flash on clash is now turned on. I'd normally suggest keeping your flash and clash turned on. Okay, colour selection. This is a biggie. Where we select our colours is nice and simple. You'll see a lot of the configuration is done through gesture control on this 2-button board. What we're going to do is point our saber downwards, hold the auxiliary button, twist our saber to throttle it like a motorbike back and forth, and you will see your blade changes colour. Do it again. That's a lime green. It's a bit washed out on the digital camera, but trust me, that's a really nice lime green. That's a nice light blue, cleaner, cooler light blue, and we're back into a standard green, purple, orange, and the like. So you get the idea. So you saw me releasing the button between each colour change there. You can actually keep the button depressed and just cycle through very quickly to select the colour you want. In this case that's a deep red. Just stab the button to lock it in, and you're now running a red saber. Okay, one additional setting that you can change whilst your saber is running, and that is blade effects. So there's 4 blade effects on this 2-button RGB Baselit board, and let's go and explore those now. One, of course, is just full solid colour on your blade, which I'll be honest is my preference. But let's see what else we have in the menu. So we're going to point our saber upwards, hold the auxiliary button and twist it. Okay, and you can see there that we have the ability to have a flashing blade. Got to hold the auxiliary button, twist it again. So what we have there is a slow pulse. 4th one, it's a bit of a strange one. Something called Ghost. It actually turns your blade off unless there's movement on your saber. I have seen people think their saber is actually broken with this mode engaged, so just be aware that your saber does actually have it. One final hold of the auxiliary button whilst pointing up and twisting to take it back to solid colour. And those are the configuration settings that you can make on your saber. If I realise I've forgotten anything, I'll add them as an addendum at the end of the video. Otherwise, it's an awesome board, this 16 sound font 12 colour RGB Baselit board, and this particular board, like I said, you normally find in the 2-button configuration. So I hope you enjoy. Any questions, as always, just fire them through. Bye bye.